When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the Best Soccer Show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the Best Soccer Show. Jason Davis, Mr. Jared DuBois, with you on a Sunday night. Just so happens to be a certain person's birthday. It's my birthday, Jared.
Oh, happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, you already said that off mic, but I wanted to get it for the record on this show. Happy
It doesn't
birthday.
count unless others hear it, right?
Exactly. I need validation constantly. It's why I do what I do for a living. I'm not going to lie about that. We are here on my birthday, which is fine because I get to hang out with you. I get to hang out with Nicholas Soup and Salad. I get to hang out with other people in the chat doing their thing, talking it up. There are qualifiers coming like very, very soon. Now, I should mention, and anybody who listens to the podcast after the fact does not participate in the live show. Maybe it's your birthday and you're out with your family and you can't listen to the live show. I understand. It's a thing. There is a game happening right now. So we have Distracted DuBois, right? Now it's halftime, so we should really... Is it halftime?
You get 15 minutes of my best.
Okay, and then it's going to go downhill very quickly, right? Is that what you're
then
telling
about
me?
45 of like nail biting and acting like I'm listening to you. Usually I act like I'm listening to you, but I'm like looking at the camera. Now I'm going to be acting like I listen to you looking at this monitor over here.
El Traffico is happening right now. So Galaxy and LAFC. I was going to... This is what I was thinking before the show. Like, shouldn't you, as a show of your commitment to the Best Soccer Show audience, because you know you have a standing date every Sunday night. We do this show at 9 p.m. Eastern time, almost without fail, barring a game happening or whatever. Shouldn't you DVR your beloved Galaxy and watch it later? Wouldn't that be the more professional?
People still DVR. Isn't that like saying taping? Like people still DVR things. Like
Sure.
I have my cord is cut, dude. Like I don't own a DVR.
I think you can do it. I think you can go back on like ESPN Plus and watch replays, right? Like, isn't that a thing you can do if you have that? Do you have that?
I don't know, but we live in an age where everyone is ruining things for you always. You don't think this whole chat at some point someone's not gonna think it's funny that the Galaxy's losing or something and to let me know?
You were seconds away from ruining the new episode of Ted Lasso, which I have not had a chance to watch yet. You were literally about to drop.
Tell you was what the theme is, and by the way, that's your fault for being 2 days behind on the best show on TV.
Well, listen, again, it's my birthday, so the entire weekend's been filled with birthday festivities, and my in-laws are in town, so I'm there's lots of things happening. I don't get a pass one time.
How was the '90s party, by the way?
It was fun. Yeah, I told Jared this. We screened in my backyard Tommy Boy, the 90s classic with Chris Farley and David Spade. Now, I laughed a lot. Now, I also had been drinking quite a bit during the day, so could be a factor. Yeah. Shockingly. I laughed a lot. There are some things that did not age well, but they're the standard things. They're like maybe a gay joke here, a homophobic kind of joke, or the R word being pulled out, I think, a couple times in that movie, which I did not remember, but David Spade definitely called... Yeah, rhubarb. He calls David Spade, or David Spade calls Chris Farley a rhubarb for doing something ridiculous. Yeah, that's what.
But I saw the dress. I saw you rocked some stuff that looks like you searched Amazon '90s clothes, and like that's how it came up.
Okay, you know what? Never mind. I was going to explain how that happened. It doesn't matter. I wore it. I owned it. It was very more fresh.
What's the 90s food and drink? Was there a food and drink 90s?
We did not. So we did movie food and drink with the 90s clothing theme. So my neighbors... I thought
for sure you're going to bust a Zima out or something.
No. I got a bunch of whiskey as gifts. Loved that. No problem there. We had hot dogs and popcorn. And then
90 proof.
Our neighbors brought over like boxes of candy like you would have at Whoppers and Skittles and all that stuff that you would have at the movie theater. And they also, he was wearing UFOs, which that was just awesome. I didn't know anybody still had a pair of UFOs like
what
laying
are
around.
UFOs?
They're pants that are like parachute pants, and they're long pants, but you can fold them up underneath, and then they have a a tie, and you can like cinch them to your knee, so it looks like you're wearing shorts, but they're not actually shorts.
Ah.
They're like doubled up underneath.
I wonder
He
if this is
was-
the East Coast thing. I don't remember this from the 90s. I don't
Okay,
know.
I don't know. She
I thought for
wore-
sure you would have gone to the thrift store and got some cross-color stuff.
I thought about going to the thrift store, but my wife was like, let's just do Amazon. I was like, okay. I wore a fanny pack. I didn't think that was 90s, but that was
What'd you
her
keep in your
choice.
fanny pack, dude?
There was nothing in my. I wish I had something in my fanny pack. Wait,
Man.
if it was the 90s, what would I have in my fanny pack? What would be in there?
A pager?
Yes, I would have a pager.
And probably some
Yeah.
beaties.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
You guys didn't have beaties, like the eucalyptus cigarettes, like they're like Jamaican style, like they're like it's what people used to smoke because they didn't have tobacco, but
Okay.
it made it look like you were smoking a joint. It made you feel cool. They're called
Oh
beaties.
no, I remember American Spirits.
But
And
no, that's actually cigarettes.
no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't remember what I've never heard of beaties before. I told my wife, like, if this was me wearing what I wore in the 90s, this is not what that was not. I was not wearing anything like what I wore in the actual 90s. I was on a line between sort of preppy, but not like rich kid preppy, more like
Oh,
you
Bugle
know,
Boys.
some Abercrombie and Fitch. I mean, I was just a pretty
Abercrombie and
standard
Fitch was
white-
the 90s?
Oh, for sure, it was.
I
the
thought it was like
90s.
early 2000s.
Let me get Nikki Soup and Salad in here for a second before we get into the topic of the nights, because I do want to hear his. I want to know what his style was. Everybody
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Everybody had their own personal style. I wore a lot of like, man, I don't even know. Trying to think. Airwalk. I'm sure I had some Airwalks at one point. I think everybody had Airwalks.
I had a lot of. I wore Adidas slides all through the 90s, blue and white.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. There was like a lot of PacSun and like Stussy and like stuff like that, right?
My
Was
style
that a
anyway.
thing?
So people out here are wearing that stuff anyway, you know.
I know that's I'm from Southern California. This is dark. All right, what did you wear, Nick? What was it?
I wore a lot of Abercrombie Fitch back when I could fit into the clothing.
So you need your hat pre-distressed.
I didn't wear a hat. I bleached my hair.
I wore a lot of hats.
Can
I
we
don't
get
remember what it
Nikki Soup
was.
and Sausage bleached hair picture? Is that a thing?
like
we can
like
get?
an Eminem
Yeah, I have
style hair bleaching situation? Is that what was going on?
Are we talking
Citizen?
Eminem or are we talking like
Oh
Crazy
yeah,
Town?
probably more like Eminem. Yeah.
More like Eminem than who? Who else would be a like the lead singer from LFO or something? I'm missing, or
like,
or not
like Crazy
LFO?
Town or like
Crazy Town.
or 311.
Yeah, were you a 311 guy?
Oh, I was so a 311 guy, dude.
Were
I
you
was
really?
way into it?
That's
yeah.
funny.
Omaha
My big
Styling,
thing was
baby.
Doc Martens. I wore Doc Martens.
Never owned a pair. Never owned a
still,
pair.
I
Doc
still
Martens.
own them. They are
I've
still
never
in my
owned
closet.
Birkenstocks, and I never will.
No, I refuse. I have
Vandals.
I will not ever wear Birkenstocks. I won't wear Tevas either. Tevas are a travesty. Don't wear Tevas. Okay.
If you're a hiker,
If you're a hiker, wear Tevas. Okay.
yeah.
They have like hiking sandals with like spikes on the bottom and shit like that, right? Is that a thing that they do?
No spike. You can put crampons onto it if you're doing ice stuff or something, but no.
Okay.
I was getting
And your
grief.
sandals.
I was getting grief a couple weeks ago from my wife because the bottle of cologne, the only bottle of cologne that I
Drakkar Noir.
own, is from high school. It is
Cool Water?
Abercrombie and Fitch Woods.
What does it smell like now?
It smells great.
So
They
you're
don't
telling me
get
that thing
cologne-
20 years, the effectiveness is still high.
Yep.
Cologne doesn't go
Couldn't-
bad.
Couldn't tell you
does
last time I
it?
put it on.
Okay.
Man,
It's probably been over a
Sorry
decade.
for Mrs. Sausage, man. You're never putting some cologne on, huh? Never.
We don't
making
go
it- Okay.
All right, thank you, Nikki Soup and Salad on the
I
show.
contributed.
All right, so we are. I think what we're doing here is we're blowing off some steam and kind of avoiding the stressful part of what we're about to talk about, and we're going to get to some big issues in American soccer. But I'm talking about qualifying because it begins again this week. In fact, it only just occurred to me in the last hour or so that I am 48 hours from an airplane to Austin, Texas, for the qualifier.
Oh, you got
against
called
Jamaica.
up?
Yeah, I'm at the last second. I'm replacing Walker Zimmerman, who was replacing Tim Ream.
Oh,
I don't know if you
you're
knew
a
that.
center back, huh?
Yeah, a 5'10" center back. Yeah.
There's a pasty white dude requirement. Ream couldn't fill it. Zimmerman couldn't fill it. So call him the Davis. Bring in the lefty.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm just white enough to play that center back role.
Where's your man bun, dude?
I need to work on that. Yo, Zimmerman and Ream have a hair thing going, right?
I know, dude. Like you can't be going down there.
I think I guess Ream did go full beard for a while, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
But by the way, I just saw the Landon Donovan statue come up on the screen. I'm not sure if you're live or not. There's an unfortunate sunshine glare off the dome that is like you should have faced this like north, because in Southern California, the sun will always be behind. Like it's like shining off the forehead.
Oh, well, if you've got it, you kind of got to own it, right? I love how they put up his name in the stadium there at the what is it? The StubHub
Depot Center.
No. Dignity Sports Health Bank Park and Spa. Something
Stub
like that.
Depot.
Stub Depot. It says 2003, 2000 something like that. He joined 2002 to 2014. And then there's a comma, and it says 2016 because he did the comeback thing. I forgot about the comeback thing.
Yeah.
For Landon Donovan and the
After
statue.
my dude did peyote like in Cambodia or something.
Cambodia, something like that. All right, so we're talking about World Cup qualifying. We have the roster. Hopefully you listened to our roster view show that dropped on the feed back on Thursday. We went through the whole thing. And Jared, we can do a little bit of that. I certainly want people to call in and give us their thoughts on the roster because you got a couple days to think about it, right? Where are the soft spots? Where is the area of the team that you worry most about? And is there a solution that Berhalter missed? Because clearly this isn't so crazy a roster that you can really like Pulisic is hurt. Reyna is hurt. You know that you're going to be missing some key pieces. Is there an argument for Julian Green? Really an argument for, I don't know, Matt Miazga? Is there really an argument for Joe Scally over Shaq Moore? Stuff like that, right?
The weakest part of the field in terms of depth is winger, and that's the same issue as last cycle, which is unfortunate because you would have liked to think that Berhalter may have done more to solidify that. You've got Weah and Aronson, who my feeling about Hariola. I just don't think I'll be surprised if he can go 3 games without getting hurt. The national team seems to be snake bit at the national team level for fitness, but you have those 3. Maybe you can say Yunus Musa as well, if you needed to pull him, but that's against the plan then. The plan is to probably play him in midfield. So I do think there's something to be said about why Conrad de la Fuente is not somewhere in this mix to have more winger depth. That's really one of the only areas of the field that I'm really worried about.
He's not getting the minutes at Marseille that he was getting before, if you want to consider that a factor here. Now, there was a little bit of this, and I think we talked about it on the roster review show, a little bit of this of, why is Pepi, not that they don't want Pepi in, American soccer fans, but just thinking, okay, Pepi can be called in with 0 experience with the national team into the last camp to play against Honduras, to be a savior of the team.
Yeah.
But Scally can't get called in when he's lacking for experience. And
I don't think those 2 positions are the same, though, in terms of
and
need.
I think the desperation at center forward is higher than the desperation at fullback, at right back. In fact, right back is not a spot of desperation; it's actually a spot of strength. And yeah, I guess you could argue that Scally is in better form than Moore. That's clearly the case.
If you think about the U.S.'s last 6 games or so, it's not a defensive problem. The U.S. doesn't have a defensive problem. They're actually quite good defensively. I think maybe they average 1 or less than 1 goal a game for the last 6 games or so. They have a really good defense with Matt Turner in there looking fantastic. The issue is they can't score goals outside of the last game. So that's the reason why the Ricardo Pepi situation is so strong and so necessary. And granted, we've got a few guys that now in the last few days are starting to look strong again. Daryl Dike looks on form. What a banger last night of a header, and then the nice sunglass finish on the celebration. Like Daryl Dike is coming alive. Jesse Zardes has been doing well in recent weeks. I think there's going to be a chance for a few more of these guys in future windows to get back in and see what they can do. But Ricardo Pepi's the man of the moment. He's going to get some run. I just don't think the right back situation. Now, remember, I prefer Scally. I would rather take Scally and save Shaq Moore off the field. Don't bring Shaq Moore in, and don't bring in George Bello. Bring Scally in. And if you are going to commit to 26 guys, and I know Berhalter can call as many as he wants, but it seems
27.
like 26 seems to be the
27. Yes,
27.
This one was 27. He added 1 body to this group.
So, but if he seems like he wants to stay around that number, bring Scally and save 2 spots, and then you can bring someone like a Conrad de la Fuente.
Again, and I know, man, it's so weird because I don't want to just say, oh, he gets a pass because Scally's a Berhalter.
Okay.
I don't want to say he gets a pass because Scally's young and just starting out at Gladbach and blah, 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 blah. But if you do consider the context of Joe Scally being a brand new addition to the first team at Gladbach, right? He joined from NYCFC at the beginning of the year. I think he played U23s or whatever in the second half of the 2021 season. He's now in the first team. He gets an opportunity to play. Why, Jared? Because of injury, right? We talked about the Wally Pip thing. I had to explain baseball history to you. Joe Scally Lou Gehrig's the guy that was supposed to be the right back for Gladbach. And that means he is in a precarious position, especially as an 18-year-old, right? He's not so established that if he goes away on international duty or if he picks up a knock. Imagine if Scally goes away to the U.S. men's national team and gets injured in one of those games and is not ready to play when he goes back to Gladbach.
You can't coach that way, dude. You can't coach that way.
No. I know, but I'm saying if you have other options in his position and you're balancing and weighing these things, and Shaq Moore's not playing a ton right now at Tenerife. And
that's where this argument hits the fan, because Shaq Moore is not playing, and yet he's preferred option over Joe Scally. And I know what people are going to say. He's got CONCACAF experience now. He's got CONCACAF experience, a whole 3 games or something like that, or whatever it is. and I liked Shaq More in the Gold Cup. I thought his name is
Shaq, man. Don't we want Shaq in our team? Let's just stop.
I thought he was fantastic. But what Joe Scally gives you is what Serginho Dest is supposed to give you, a true right left back option, someone that can go both and play not just on one side of the ball. Oh my God, I see almost. The difference is, Joe Scally actually gives you defensive cover, which Serginho doesn't. And that's why I like him as a guy to have in this camp, because both sides of the field, and he goes both ways, whatever side he's on. Okay. Whereas Serginho Dest is truly just looking forward.
Here's Holden saying that Scally is like the player of the season for Gladbach. The season is 2 months old. And this is I'm not taking a shot at Holden, because I understand what he's saying, that Scally's been so good for Gladbach that it almost, Did I miss something? He's also pointing out that you said goes both ways. Joe Scally has been good enough for Gladbach that he can win Player of the Month, Player of the Season to this point if you're making up an award for 2 months of the year. But he's still young, and he's still new, and he's still not at a place where you just presume.
You can say that about the whole team. Jason, we're average age is 20 years old or something like that, or 20.
Yeah.
It's the youngest team in qualifying.
I know, but
so what's one more?
But this is this is recency bias, right? And this comes back to the argument.
How old is Shaq Moore?
How old is he?
How is George Bello? They're not super older than him.
No. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about, when I say recency bias, Shaq Moore, and I know it was the Gold Cup, and it wasn't the best teams that every country could put out, but it's pretty close in CONCACAF anyway. Shaq Moore was good in the Gold Cup. We agree on that, yes?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Shaq Moore was good in the Gold Cup. Mm-hmm. If you had said back then, hey, we're going to call up Shaq Moore for 3 games in World Cup qualifying in October, you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I get it. We're good. Suddenly there's a new kid who, again, is still working his way into his professional career. Whatever that means. You can dismiss that if you want, because everybody's young and everybody's trying to make their way into their teams, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't just toss Shaq Moore aside, even if he's not necessarily playing with Tenerife.
You're using the phrase recency bias, but I'm going to call it game fitness. The dude's not game fit, and there's 3 games in a week, man. Like, I get it. You're saying it's recency bias. I love Shaq Moore. I thought he was great in the Gold Cup. But the dude is potentially to play more minutes than he has. You could stack 3 times the number of minutes he's had for his club team. It was still not.
Okay, but who's the starting right back for the U.S. men's national team? Now, you're playing 3 games in a week.
At home, I think it's Serginho Dest. On the road, it might potentially be Shaq Moore.
You think Shaq Moore's going to start away in Panama? That's your guess?
I think he could, yeah. I mean, if you want a defensive-minded fullback, it's not Yedlin. It's not Dest.
I think Yedlin probably starts in Panama over Shaq Moore. That would be
I think that's a mistake. I think Yedlin's a better change of pace player off the bench. I don't a decent starter. I think Shaq Moore's a better defensively sound starter.
I think it's.
You think Yedlin's a good defender?
I think he's a passable defender, and I think his speed makes up for a lot of mistakes, especially when you're going up against a Panamanian team that's not going to dominate the ball. So I just think that probably
you're thinking 3 points in Panama. I'm thinking 1. Maybe that's our difference.
Well, that actually brings us to the whole question about this set of qualifiers as we get ready to set up on our journey here, Texas, Panama, Ohio. Which one of those places has the best food, do you think? Texas, right?
I can't speak for Panama, but I would definitely say Texas over Ohio. They put spaghetti chili something. I don't know.
I don't know much about Panamanian food. I need to learn. We need to open up our horizons here. Somebody tell me about Panamanian.
Whatever it is, it's better than Ohio.
Does Nick need to defend his home state?
I think the state meal of Ohio is hamburger helper.
That's cool, man.
Damn, dog.
That's not. First of all, the national meal of white people is hamburger helper. So
that's also Ohio.
Okay. All right. Well, so I think that as we get ready for this, the question is, and we put it up on our graphic for the show, we said 7 points or bust. And what I mean by that is literally 7 points is the bare minimum, not what we're aiming for. Yeah. We're aiming for 9. And I, think about that math, Jared. We've already established, going back to the beginning of the octagonal, that if you end up with 24 points at the end of this process, you're probably going to make the World Cup. I mean, it's like 90% certainty that you're going to make the World Cup. They picked up 5 points in those first 3 games. Disappointing, but not disastrous. Sure. If they win 3 games here, and this is the easiest window outside of the 2-game window, but the 2-game window includes Mexico. So this is the easiest window. If you get 9 points, you are now on 14 points. I don't care where you are in the standings right now. I just care about getting to 24. You're only 10 points away, and you've played 6 of how many games? 6 of 14 games? Not even half of your games have been played at that point. And you have all that time to get 10 points. I'm not saying it's a guarantee they will make the World Cup if they get 9 in this window, but if they get 9 in this window,
I don't. But part of me just doesn't want to set myself up for failure again, because we were talking about 9 points last time, and at the end we were sitting on 2 going into the third game.
You're right that we maybe got ahead of ourselves. The difference here is that there are 2 home games in this window, and they are eminently winnable home games against 2 pretty questionable CONCACAF teams right now.
Agreed, but what we don't know, and here's the biggest question mark, we got no idea what comedy of errors formation-wise Greg Berhalter is going to put on the field over these 3 games.
Wow. You're just not okay. You're just not.
Wait, am I wrong?
No, you said.
Do you think you could accurately predict? Do you think you could accurately predict A, the formation, and B, 75% of the players that will be on the field for game 1?
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
No, I think you're right in that.
The problem to me, I don't know.
I think I don't know about problem. I guess it is only because he hasn't proven to get it right at least to start a game at all in this process. 3 games in, every single game he's gotten it wrong except for that second half against Honduras, and he basically had to wholesale switch a bunch of things. Three substitutes at halftime, right? In that game,
he had to throw his own game plan out the window after 45 minutes.
My brain, my positive thinking brain, wants to believe that he learned enough from that experience in the second half against Honduras that he's going to get it right to start the game against Jamaica at least. Again, at home, where you go for it, right? Now, you don't have Pulisic, you don't have Reina, but you can go for it. And I saw
Brendan Aronson unleashed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, I think Aronson is an absolute 100% locked in starter right now, especially with Pulisic out.
Let's go on the record right now. Go on the record right now. Do you think on the right side, I won't say winger, wide forward?
Oh, we go back to the review show where we argued about.
Yes. Is it going to be now? Do you think will it be Paul Arriola or Tim Weah on the right side?
Oh my God!
What the right answer is, but you also know that you have no idea because Greg Berhalter's the coach of this team.
Man, I really hope that Arriola is a Panama choice and not a Jamaica choice. Now, that doesn't mean I want him to start against Panama, but if you are rotating, which you kind of have to do, you go for it against Jamaica at home in front of what's supposed to be an insane crowd in Austin. That, to me, screams Tim Weah, the more creative piece, the better finisher of the two, the better in terms of interchange than Arriola. Arriola does a ton of work, and I respect the kid, but yeah. And then maybe if you have to rotate, you play Arriola away in Panama. If we're going to play Arriola, that's where I would want to see that.
Can I go blue for a second? Is it okay to be a little bit dirty for a second? Is that okay?
Always kind of blue?
Paul Arriola is the guy that's really good at going down on a girl. Like, it's to make up for everything else. Like he's the dude that's down there for like 40 minutes because he can't do the other stuff right for 5.
Can I just pull? I don't know if this is going to make the final podcast. I may be talking about
I
stuff that
asked
nobody
permission. I asked for
but
permission.
I didn't know what was coming. I just want to make people aware. Now, look, this has
You should
never
always
been.
assume if I'm asking, it's because it's the worst.
This has never not been the show. It's never not been the show. I should know, right? Because by the way, I pointed this out in our Slack message that as of Saturday, it'll be 10 years since we did our very first episode of The Best Soccer Show. 10 years, 2011, October 9th. I remember.
I'm still playing the hits, baby.
Right after my birthday. There was, man, I don't know how deep with this I want to go. I just hope you didn't ruin our money. Like, I hope you didn't mess with our money just now. That's all I'm saying. Like, I just hope you didn't mess with our money at some
Is
point.
Paul Ariola paying us?
No, but perhaps somebody should. Perhaps somebody might be like, "Oh, I was ready to write a check to advertise on what's this? The Best Soccer Show? What are they talking about? Oh no, tear that."
My bad. Listen, I said all I can say is I asked for permission. That's all I know. It's not like I just busted it out there.
No, but that's not.
You know what I'm saying, though? The dude does all the fake hustle. Like, he does all this stuff.
Hey,
the dude
Dad,
does a bunch of work. The dude does a bunch of work, but in the end, he can't get it done.
Your kid sneaks out, and you're like, but you snuck out. You're not supposed to sneak out. Oh, but I asked permission to sneak out. But you didn't. What? No. You
understand what I'm saying, though, right?
I guess so.
Like,
I
the
suppose
dude's
so.
too proud at the wrong abilities.
Okay, but you can recognize and appreciate that there is a place for those players in this
I
group.
guess so, but I mean, at the end of the day, I want someone that's actually going to, like, I don't know, like, goals, dude. And when I think of Pariola, I think of effort. I don't think of goals.
All right. Well,
am I wrong?
He has goals for the U.S. I'm not saying he's got goals against big teams, but Panama and Costa Rica at home and Jamaica at home, they may be made for Paul Ariola, right?
Hey, for
Oliver
the record,
says
Oliver knows it.
The male landscaping companies won't care. You guys should be good. We did talk about manscaping on the roster show.
Yeah.
And then I was told, hey, maybe they've even reached out. Who knows? All right, let's go to the
Where's
phone
my
line.
manscaping contract?
Let's go. You don't wear underwear. I don't even know.
All the more reason I have to have right.
Okay. All right. We're going to avoid that for now. Felix from Chicago, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Yeah, there's so much flack about Christian Roldan, right, being on the roster, and I know he plays well with Seattle. I can't come across anywhere that actually defends his inclusion in the roster. You guys, I think, both watch much more MLS than I do. I was curious what you would say the defense, not that you would agree with it, but the defense for the inclusion of Christian Roldan in this roster and what he brings to the team.
I'll give you a 45-minute answer. Watch the second half of the Honduras game. Honestly, what he brings to the table is a calmness on the ball, a ability to distribute it, and a veteran experience of not giving up the ball in bad positions as well. He's smart. He knows how to move the ball around. He knows how to support a striker and open up space. That's what he gives you. He's not a starter. If he is, something's go wrong, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, he's not in this team to be in the starting lineup. He's in the team to come in late, and if you are chasing the game, well, he's going to disorganize your back line. He's going to disorganize your defense as you try to keep the U.S. from scoring. If you are in the lead, well, he's gonna hassle people, and he's gonna pop up in places, and he's gonna get physical. He's kind of a pit bull of a player. I don't mean that he's dirty, but I mean that he does not stop. And there's a little bit of Paul. There's some
it's the same
to Paul Ariola.
It's the same reason you have Sebastian Lletget in there. Sebastian Lletget might be slightly more refined, I think, in passing.
A little bit,
but they're very similar players. They're in there because the average age of this team is like. That's why they're in.
Yeah, I suppose that.
So are they redundant? Are they redundant options then, Lletget and Roldan?
Potentially, but you could have if you have an injury, like you want one of them still there.
I
think the difference is Lletget's your starting option if you have to. Roldan's still, I think, not your starting option unless you absolutely have had a few things go wrong.
I trust Lletget a little bit more as a starter. I mean, he certainly has more starting minutes than Roldan does. But I think also. Every argument about a player like Roldan comes down to who else would you call. So I guess Felix, that's the question, right? Who else? Who is the improvement over Roldan?
Is that the
Felix?
question for me?
Yes, sorry, Felix. That's the
don't know
question for
who
you.
I would put above them. I was just kind of more looking for someone to defend him because everyone just freaks out that he's included in the roster. I just wanted to hear someone defend it because I don't watch the Sounders. And when I seen him play, I don't see him as someone who makes mistakes, but I don't see someone who adds value to what's happening on the field.
I think if you're talking about
limited sample size.
I think if you're talking about who's the next type of player that does the similar things as Christian Roldan, you're going for the lesser option. You're talking about a guy like Caden Clark.
Well,
you're talking about that's the next tier down to me.
Hold on, Caden Clark is a much more attacking player than Christian Roldan. I know Christian Roldan's been asked to do that in Seattle this year because Nico Lodero's been out, but Caden Clark has much better instincts.
But what's closer to him? What's a closer?
Well, so D-Mac in the chat has one is Julian Green.
Okay?
Fair. And Now he also says LDT. Now Luca Del Torre is in this team.
Yeah.
He made this team, so there's no more. Oh, it should be Luca instead of Christian Roldan because Luca Del Torre is here. But Julian Green is the option, and I don't think
I hate this thing though. Like this one, Michael Freeman. If Roldan was good, he would play in Europe. Come on, man. Like, we're losing the teams in Central America that don't have any players playing in Europe. Okay, like it's such a fallacy to say you have to be in Europe to be good.
I don't think that the difference between Roldan and Julian Green is big enough. And I'm not saying Julian Green's not a good player, but he would be a reintroduction. I know this is like, you're justifying bringing Christian Roldan just because Berhalter's called him before and he was wrong to call him before. I suppose that could be the argument. But he does know him, and he has been in the team, and he does know at least in some way what Berhalter wants, even though Berhalter changes his formation and his approach every single game. He does have some idea, and I think that matters in this moment in qualifying. I would rather go with a guy who's 75% of Julian Green, who knows the system and knows the culture and fits with this group. And I don't know that that's Roldan necessarily, but I think it is, over a guy who's Julian Green and is playing the Bundesliga for a bad team, but hasn't been in the camp for what? It hasn't been in a U.S. camp, 5 years? I mean, how long has it been since Julian Green was in this team?
Last World Cup cycle, yeah. I mean, last World Cup, that the U.S. was in.
Yeah. Anything else, Felix?
No, thanks for taking my call.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Appreciate it. Goes Felix in Chicago. I like saying Chicago for some reason. Let's go to Peter from Lubbock. I don't know if he's going to get into the food discussion. I have seen someone mention that Panama has all the seafood, which makes sense. Panama's right there. Shipping lanes, right there on the ocean. Sure. 2 oceans, actually, on each side. Probably kills it with seafood. So Panama might beat everybody here.
Is there fish in the canal?
It has to be fish in the canal, right?
I mean, accidentally, right?
Yeah, I guess they would.
Can
get
you
trapped?
Fish in the canal? It tastes like oil and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think you want to fish in the canal.
You don't want slimy fish.
No. Peter, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
I had a quick question. I wasn't a Berhalter guy at the beginning, but after the last series, I kind of going to give him a lot of faith now because he did something prior coaches didn't do before, and I had sent you a tweet a while back about the Mexican Americans, and to me, Pepi for me is the guy that I'm just looking forward to. You know, he kind of represents me. He looks like me. He's about my culture, and I just wanted something like that with the U.S. team because I work with a lot of doctors, and a lot of them, some of them from Central America, and I actually had one of them tell me, "Why don't I root for Mexico?" And I found that strange. Yes, my grandparents are from Mexico, but I'm American. I was born here. So he kind of represents what I would like to see more of. Mm-hmm. But the reason I say that is Berhalter didn't pull him at halftime. See, because in the prior, I noticed JFT would get pulled at halftime based on how the team was playing. Hercules Gomez in the World Cup was pulled at halftime. It was always, it seemed like, to me, I could be completely wrong, but the Mexican-American players were always pulled early and not given chances. And I just think that, that's why I hope Pepi can be something and break that, just kind of that mold and kind of represent more of what I guess, my culture, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely.
I'm just happy we got a Jose Francisco Torres reference on the show.
I can't speak to that experience, right? Obviously, I'm not. There's no Mexican in me, but I reckon. No, I just want to say, I think that representation thing cannot be overstated. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid. He's got a whole future in front of him. We don't exactly know what that's going to be, but even already with the goal, the assist, the creating the spark against Honduras, and obviously what Peter's saying, that he didn't get pulled at halftime when Berhalter could have probably justified making a change there as well. That says this could be the guy. No, I don't want to turn him into the chosen one, because that puts a lot on.
I think it shows that Berhalter can accurately. I think here's the thing. I think Berhalter, for the most part, outside of the Canada game, which he waited to the 80-something minute to make a sub, outside of that, I think most of the time he's able to validly diagnose the game and know what it's missing and what it needs. Ricardo Pepi got zero service. There was one half chance in the whole first 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to validate and say a guy is not a good option when he's getting no service, no chances. So he changed the pieces around him to try and get more chances and more service. I think that's a good call on Berhalter's part.
What's interesting is that, and we talked about this, right? That DK was supposed to be this guy before Pepi started scoring in buckets in Major League Soccer and kind of forced his way into this conversation, and obviously was open to playing for the U.S. when a lot of Mexican-American players don't. And we have to talk about Julian Araujo, and probably should talk Jonathan Gomez tonight as well. We thought it was going to be DK. And what do we say about DK and his time in England, Jared? Like, you kept saying, like, I don't know what he is, because they just lumped the ball up to him. There's no finesse. There's no refinement.
Literally, Burnley used him like a backboard.
Yes, and I think Pepi is obviously a little bit more refined than that in certain ways, but he's also a kid who just knows how to score goals. So you can do that, right? You can lump the ball up to, or in the case of the ball that Leggett played for the goal against Honduras, which, by the way, was not the right pass from Pulisic in the first place, right? If you go back and look at that sequence, Pulisic makes the wrong pass because I think he had somebody to his left. That ball is not a high percentage ball, right? It's we know we have a kid who goes up and gets them, right? This is not necessarily
the thing that excites me about Ricardo Pepi in this window is that I think Ricardo Pepi is great when he has space to run into and he's facing goal and has a runner with him. That's why he and Jesus Ferreira play so well together. They're both running with each other a lot of the time. And what excites me about Ricardo Pepi in this window is that Tim Weah plays the same way. Mm-hmm. Think of what you're seeing with him and Jonathan David doing in France. And when Tim Weah has success, he's running. He's out on the wings. He's getting behind. And Ricardo Pepi wants to run that channel. He wants to run that diagonal run to find that service from wide.
And I've already seen the gallows humor takes, like, we all want to see Pepi, but we're probably going to get Zardes. Now, first of all, Zardes has a place in the team, and we know
you will get him one of these. You
absolutely have to get him at least in one of these games. You're not playing Ricardo Pepi in 3 games, but what you just said speaks to something Berhalter has been talking about. And when the roster dropped, he was very adamant that they were looking. It's such a buzzy word, but verticality, right? Verticality. Let's get a shirt that says verticality on it. Or get
what's the difference between verticality and long ball? Isn't it kind of the same thing?
No, I think what it means that you want your players to be vertical. The ball doesn't have to go over the top. The ball doesn't have to get there like that. You can play the ball on the ground, but you want players who are making forward runs.
Viagra for your game.
You don't want players who are setting up and posting in a spot. I mean, think about Pulisic in the game against Honduras, right? The way that sort of was it the Honduras game? Yeah, the way that played out. He was sort of isolated. He didn't have a chance. They weren't moving the ball quickly enough. And I think what Berhalter has recognized is that they are going to be better, especially in these games where they will have the ball and they will have an opportunity to make that count. They will need, in order to make those defenses backpedal, because they didn't do that against Canada, right? Canada could just camp, right? There was Fort Ticonderoga or whatever they have, Fort Detroit, I don't know, whatever. They just set up and they were just there, and the U.S. didn't have any idea how to get around them. If you are
but how does verticality help you with that? Because they're already compacted and sat into a final third.
So obviously it's partly about pressing and turning the ball over, right? And then transition. I hope it's about transition. I hope it's about we're going to recover the ball, maybe even in our own defensive third. And with Canada stretched because they've pushed, or not Canada in this case, Jamaica or Panama or Costa Rica, if they are stretched, then we can use those gaps with players who are making vertical runs, making forward runs. Go and I'm constantly yelling at my television, play faster, play faster, play faster. But what I realize, what I mean, isn't just play faster; it's play forward. And you can become single-minded that way, and it's not always going to work. And you do need to get width because you can't just play through the middle if there are no gaps because the center backs are not split, or you have defensive midfielders who are sitting in and able to cover that space because that's the only place you're playing. But I think that I like what I'm hearing, and I think Weah and Pepi both fit that, Jared. That was my point.
Agreed.
Okay. Anything else, Peter?
Oh, no, I'll be at the game in Austin, so if you make a trip down there and I run into you, first beer's on me.
I'll be there, Peter. Find me. I'll be somewhere. All right. Peter from Lubbock. Let's go
I'll be in the house.
Jason wearing his shirt with like the not safe for teen shirt or whatever it is that you have. What's that one where it's this Christian Pulisic celebration in the corner shirt?
Oh,
I know you're gonna wear that. I know you're gonna wear it.
I'm not going to wear it to the game because I'm going to be in the booth, and that's not. I mean, in the press box, and that's not really. Oh, that's not really the look.
What's press booth, Jason? Press box, Jason.
Press box, Jason is probably some sort of button-up situation.
Oh, in Texas. Well, I guess it's not that hard of summer anymore.
Well, it could be short. It could be a short sleeve. Like it could be short sleeve and then throw a blazer over the top of that, and then the blazer can come on and off. There's that, think.
Oh, you're gonna be a man you're gonna be a man in a blazer?
Oh man, maybe I don't want to do that. I don't know. I'm gonna be hanging out with Heath.
You should be a man. That guy we should be boys in cardigans. Can we be boys in cardigans?
No,
or gentlemen in cardigans?
I don't do cardigans. We can be.
That's the problem.
We could be dudes in hoodies or something like that. Can we be dudes in hoodies?
I like that. That's casual as shit.
Yeah. All right, Frank in the OC. What's up?
I do cardigans. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, I didn't say there are. I just don't own any. I'm just not I've never
That's
made
right,
that
Frank.
choice.
Represent.
I'm not. I drink whiskey, but I don't own a cardigan. I'm a man of contrasts. Go ahead, Frank.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna piggyback off of something I said on the chat. And to the point is that when it comes to qualifications here in CONCACAF, and I've been watching like qualifications since I can open my eyes. I mean, I was a Mexico fan before I was a U.S. fan, so I can kind of speak to this.
What are we talking about? Like Luis Hernandez and who was on those teams? Come on, Fred. Okay.
Herman Villa. I mean, don't get me started.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The thing that I've noticed is that here, I mean, in CONCACAF, like we need like more players. I mean, players. CONCACAF light, like Pepi, like Araku, like Alvarez. Sure, one of those have had declared from Mexico, the other ones here and there. But we do need like those type of players for qualification. And I don't think, I mean, sure, it's not Greg's fault that, some of them don't want to play here, but I do think there is a problem with like the scouting that goes on here in the US. I mean, that's just my take. I mean, the last time the U.S. qualified, and I do remember in the 2013. I mean, Torres, Castillo, Orozco, a lot of MLS players were all intricate in qualifying that team for Brazil, and I think there is something to it that players who play here who are familiar with CONCACAF, I think, are better for qualification. I'm not saying don't bring the European players, but it's nice to have like a good mix of everything.
Well, I think. Look, I don't think there's a universal generalization that you could make. Like, oh, we need this kind of player. We need an MLS player because they understand some of these places. I think that can be true. I do think there's also travel is a factor. I think there's a lot of different things. The way teams play when they're in Major League Soccer.
So, Frank, are you saying they're kind of soft? Are you saying that like the MLS players and Central American players? I'm sorry, Frank. Are you saying that it makes us kind of soft not having those players? Because I could get that a little bit.
No, I mean, I just think it's just different playing in these different countries here in North America than it is playing in Europe. I mean, you'll have your cold weather, your nice field. It's just different. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So basically, you're saying we're bringing fine dining to a barbecue. Sometimes you got to have the right flavor.
This is what Tyler Adams kind of got in trouble for the last time around. It wasn't, I mean, people took it wrong. If you read the context, you can completely understand what he means. But he said something like, I'd rather be playing in Europe than in CONCACAF. And what he meant was, it's hard. Like, you got to go to these places, and the venues are difficult, and the travel and the hotels, and they're pulling fire alarms, and there's bands outside, and all kinds of stuff that doesn't get folded into the question of how do you win on the day? So,
dang it, Jason, stop fetishizing CONCACAF.
Man, that pendulum swings, doesn't it? It swings both ways. It's either we're overrating CONCACAF and this team should do way better. I got called out by Dave Mossy. Did you know that? On Alexi Lawless's podcast. David Mossy is his stats guy. He's worked for Fox for a very long time. Mossy was saying that I was making excuses for this young team when they went to Central America and didn't play all that well. And the quote was the Grant Walls and Jason Davises of the world. And I went, okay, sure, why not?
Big J.
That's me. That's who I am. Big J. Yeah, me with my non-existent Ivy League education.
How are you making excuses for them? They sucked. Like, I don't think you guys said anything different.
What he's saying is that you shouldn't say, oh, it's hard and they're young and it's new and it's CONCACAF. You should say they should do better. There are no excuses for not doing better, not getting 9 points in that first round of games. That was Mossy's point. That I was saying, oh, it's kind of understandable that they weren't that good. But he's saying, no, they're talented enough that it shouldn't matter how hard CONCACAF is. They should be getting all the points. Agree or disagree?
I think you can make that. I think that argument is good next window, because the fact of the matter is none of those players has ever been in that environment before, and I think that's why that argument may not be as valid now as it will be in a few years. I'm comfortable with that talking point, even later this cycle. To be honest with you, I'm comfortable with that talking point, but you've got a bunch of dudes that are 20 to 21 years old that have never played in that environment before, and those level of games and that dirty of a game. To be honest with you,
well.
I'm okay with giving them a small bit of a pass the first window of this experience. I am not comfortable with it, and maybe later this window, and definitely not next window. They need to perform.
Well, not every window's created equal, right? That's what we just talked about. Like, and not that El Salvador is the toughest game away in CONCACAF. It's not, but it's not easy either. And
we thought you were ready to flinch with those fireworks, for God's sakes. Like, come on.
Not that Honduras is the toughest game away in CONCACAF, but it's not easy. And
dude had a streak in his shorts.
Canada was a massive letdown. I mean, that's the one that sticks out for me. Like, you can say, very first game against El Salvador, you struggle to create chances, you don't score, you leave with a point. Oh, that's disappointing. It's whatever. They're young. They got a rude awakening about the environment or whatever it is. The game against Canada at home, that's why when I say all windows aren't created equal, this one is not created like that last one. This one involves 2 home games. And I know that
for the record, Gelled win, best windows.
Oh, man. I sure.
Are they still a sponsor?
I know Jamaica's got their English-based players, and we should mention that, by the way. The rule shift by the UK government. I know Jamaica's got their English-based players, and that will make them more dangerous, especially Antonio joining from West Ham. But you still should beat Jamaica at home. There's really no argument you shouldn't. And you should not have
Jamaica may outwork you, though. Jamaica's going to work hard.
No,
they're going to be.
Look, I'm not saying that it'll be 5-0. Clearly, it's not going to be like that. But I think they should beat Jamaica. I also think they should beat Costa Rica. And our boy Eddie in Brooklyn, who is frustrated with the state of his national team, has said, "Can y'all beat us so bad again that you make us fire another coach so our best generational talent can unretire from the national team?" That's
is he talking about their goalkeeper?
I'd have to go look and see. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Is Kaylor not involved because he doesn't like the coach? I don't know about. Kaylor's getting pushed around at PSG. It's really messed up what they're doing to Kaylor Navas at PSG. Man, it gets no respect.
I still fear Costa Rica. I fear Costa Rica still, for sure.
No, you should. But again, until last time out, when we botched it at home with Costa Rica at Red Bull Arena, we always beat Costa Rica at home. We always struggled in San Jose, but we always beat Costa Rica at home. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Frank, you got anything else before I let you go?
Oh shoot, I'm still on. All right, no, man, I'm good. Later, guys.
Appreciate it. It's our boy Frank, who also calls the radio show. Jared, did you know that I have a radio show?
Congratulations, dude.
No, thanks. My birthday.
WNBC.
And I have a radio show.
WNBC.
This is a good way to transition us to a very important topic. Look, you shouldn't be listening to us on this necessarily, but I think we have a responsibility, just like Fox did when John Strong went on the air and pointed out the signs and the riveters in Portland supporting the players with this reckoning that's happening in the NWSL. We're not the people, right? You should go and read the writing of people who are on top of the story. Read Meg Linehan, read Molly Hensley Clancy, read all of that. Listen to the players, listen to people who have a stake in all of this. Listen to the victims. But Jared, this is big, right? This is, and it man, I don't know. It's one of those things like, it has to happen.
You haven't said what this is yet. So
well,
you should
okay. Well, when I say reckoning, we've had a slow burn with the Washington Spirit story where their head coach initially was said to be taking a leave of absence or moving to the front office because of health reasons, when it actually turned out that he had been verbally abusing players and was being investigated for that by the NWSL.
And the Portland piece is he was formerly of Portland, where some of these things were. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. My two coaches are making.
I'm setting this up. So that's been going on for a while. Now, the most recent thing is obviously Meg Linehan's piece at The Athletic, in which Paul Riley, who was the former Portland Thorns coach, was in that piece. There were direct stories told by someone who was coerced into sex by him when he was her coach. And in that situation, there really is no argument. And this is a problem in women. I say it's a problem in women's soccer because it's happened. I think every individual relationship can be different and it's really hard to judge. But you can't be in a position of power like that and engage in that relationship, Jared. You can't do it.
Listen, I'm as someone who works in management, like I've always been very conscious of the fact that you cannot use your power in a way that's going to make the other person feel that they're in a position where they. I think there's a problem amongst men, especially white males, that they don't understand the power that they have, or if they do, they don't care. And there's a perceived power in most every dynamic. And I think there's a problem where a lot of men don't recognize they have it, or they don't care that they do and they're willing to use it. Either one of those two, both of those things need to be fixed.
They can justify their behavior by saying, "Oh, I'm actually being, I'm opening up, or I'm being supportive, or I'm providing an ear." Oh, and then this is a natural relationship that stems from that. And you're right. It's really hard to pull yourself out and recognize what those things are, but it can't. Paul Riley clearly crossed several lines and then nearly did it again, which is part of Meg Linehan's story as well. We are now at a point where this has developed. Well, first of all, the NWSL didn't play this weekend because the players after some negotiating with the league basically said, we need to boycott this weekend in light of these allegations.
And the president stepped down.
Paul Riley was fired by the North Carolina Courage after this story dropped. He had his license taken away by U.S. Soccer. You've also had, as you said, Lisa Baird, the commissioner of the NWSL, resigned on Friday under pressure because when this was brought up to her again, after this is 2015 is when the original Portland Thorns investigation happened. Paul Riley was
investigation, by the way.
They investigated him. They determined there was no criminal conduct, which is a terrible line to draw. There was no criminal conduct. His contract was up. They did not bring him back. They said, "Thank you for great work, and we really respect you." And then he went and got hired by the Western New York Flash, who then moved to North Carolina to become the Courage. And again, enabling somebody who had clearly done things he should not have, and even beyond the sexual relationship, which is absolutely, that's a line, and that's the worst of it, at least for Paul Riley. He was throwing like parties and laying his card down to go drinking with his players, and I just don't know how that's okay.
And you go back to that 2014 allegation, and you can read those emails that were put up by Alex Morgan. Not that it happened to her, but she amplified the emails. Right. It's clear that whether there was an investigation or not, the player wasn't. which makes you feel that the player thinks that the investigation was never done or never followed up, and they feel that there was a conclusion to it, that it was just kind of glossed over. So it's at the end of the day, NWSL has to do better. There's a conversation right now about, is NWSL savable? That's a conversation that's out there right now.
Well, there's a couple things happening, and I'm trying to catch up because there's a little bit of weekend stuff. And I just had my birthday, so I'm not 100% on top of everything. But so Lisa Baird is out. The NWSL has formed a committee to oversee the league after her resignation. That committee involves a couple of different people. I have to go and find the list of names. I believe Amanda Duffy of Orlando Pride is on the list. Kansas City co-owner Angie Long, OL Reign, NWSL board representative Sophie Selvage.
But it's all good. But the problem is, why did it take 6 years to get here?
No, of course. Also happening now, U.S. Soccer, because of their former relationship with the NWSL, because they're obviously sanctioning the league, has also come out and they've announced that they have hired Sally Yates, formerly U.S. Attorney Sally Yates, to investigate this. So this has gone. That is DEFCON 1, if you want to think of it that way.
We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1?
For U.S. Soccer. I do think you're right, and there's a sense that the NWSL might be teetering. Now, I hope, and there were some good things were said, even if there was still sort of this casual or historically casual attitude about this stuff. Bill Predmore, who's the founder of what was Tacoma Rain, now is OL Reign, he was talking about some things that had happened, and he was talking about the we do better and things like that. And they fired their coach in the middle of the summer, or they let him go, right? They said he resigned. Again, this is a covering up for somebody who did something bad by saying, oh, he resigned, or he decided to leave. Farid Ben-Stidi was fired because apparently he was abusive and was fat shaming players. Ridiculous, by the way, obviously, but abusing players with language about their weight and things like that. And they asked him to resign. He did. And then in their press release, they said he resigned. But again, that's dressing it up. And while Predmore is better than most on that level, clearly there's a culture that says we can't say anything about these people as they leave for things they did bad because we'll get sued. And I understand that that's a fear, because that's why the WPS shut down, because they were sued into oblivion by Dan Borislaw, who was the ass of asses, owner of Magic Job. Anyway,
I want to say one other thing about this in general. This story, the seriousness of it, the amplification of it, is why you need places like The Athletic. Mm-hmm. It's why the media of the previous 10 years has never been enough. It's been enough to give you scores. It's enough to give you recaps. Like, you can go MLS soccer and stuff like that for all like you're not going to read this article on that website. You're not going to read this article on the places that are scared that their credentials are going to be pulled. They can be threatened or something like that. The Athletic doesn't give a shit. They're going to give the story that needs to be told in American soccer, and I applaud that. And I think that's the reason why you should support sites like that. It's the reason why sites like that are necessary. And it's not to say there aren't journalists out there that wouldn't want to write this story, but you have to have a platform that wants to publish it. And no more than now, I think, have we ever seen the validity and the necessity of outlets like The Athletic. Not to give much of free press and stuff like that, but they deserve it. They did a fantastic job this week.
No, I made sure to have Megan on my show this past week. Friday, she was on the United States of Soccer. I talked to Molly Hensley Clancy from the Washington Post, who wrote all the stuff about the Spirit, and is still following that story. I think it's important. Now, obviously, we also have to make sure that we are willing and open to talking about the NWSL, and for us, for this show, our purview is national team stuff, and we do talk about the U.S. women when they're playing games and when they have stuff going on. But I hope that we remember that media, and of course Megan Linehan's covering the games too, but we as media shouldn't just latch on to the big scandalous story when it happens, right? And obviously this needs coverage.
But you have to be willing to do it when it's right, though.
No, of course, but this needs coverage, and it should be out there, and people should be talking about it. That's the only way that you apply pressure and force the NWSL and all the powers that be and all those. Let's get Steve Baldwin out as owner of the Washington Spirit. Let's find people who can step in and actually protect players. Those are important things, but these are athletes who are playing a sport because they love it, and they want us to talk about the goal they scored on the weekend. Yeah. When they get back to playing games. And
there's no games this weekend, though, and that shows you the seriousness of what's going on.
Yeah, I know. All right, so there's that. I wanted to touch on Julian Araujo briefly. I know we skimmed past that. It looks like he's going to be a Mexico player, Jared. Is that right? Do you have sources inside the LA Galaxy?
I do not have sources. All I can see is the ESPN ones. They're reporting right now that oh man. I'm watching Julian Araujo not on the field, and it's O'Neal Fisher instead, and it's giving me a heart attack for the last 45 minutes. It sounds like he's filed for his one-time switch to switch to Mexico. I don't think anyone has him on the record saying that he's done it, but that is what's being reported by some sources on the ESPN side. I think it's a loss for the U.S. Granted, we've got plenty of right backs right now, stuff like that. But to what Frank was saying before, you want some of these guys. You want some of these guys that appeal to a segment. Sorry, it wasn't Frank. It was the gentleman from Lubbock.
Yes, talking about Peter from Lubbock.
You want to have people in this team that represent parts of America. That speak for them.
Am I being crazy if I say that Ricardo Pepi is kind of a unicorn? Because Again, I don't want to give any passes because I know U.S. Soccer has botched this before, right? And they've done a poor job making kids like Julian Araujo, like Ricardo Pepi, like Jonathan Gonzalez, who was the center of a storm not that long ago. Yeah. They've done a poor job of making them feel included. They've done a poor job of connecting them to the soccer culture in the U.S. Soccer program. They've done a poor job of making those kids feel wanted. But at the same time, and I think we've talked about this, right? When you are Mexican American, like Julian Araujo, like Ricardo Pepi, you are like 75% in Mexico's camp before you even do any thinking about it, right? Like the pressure, the family history, the desire, the connections. I mean, I think it's almost the fact
was
that
it any more than what Serginho Dest had, though?
I don't know, and that's interesting because Dest is obviously an argument about, well, he's more Dutch than he is American if you're trying to label those things. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. I think that Dest comes from a different culture, though. I don't think that living in the Netherlands and having a choice to play for somebody else feels the same as if you're living in the United States and you're Mexican American and Mexico wants you.
I think one of the things that might change this, it might tilt the scales. That let's say Pepi does go to the Ajax and he becomes a big deal somewhere in Europe or something like that. I think it shows that if you're playing with the U.S. passport or with a U.S. Card, it doesn't mean that you can't make big, huge leaps. And I think that's the kind of thing that sometimes I think there's a wonder if your platform's as big if you're playing for the U.S. versus Mexico.
Maybe, but
as a Mexican American,
I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, Mexico.
Do you think the average Mexican American family would rather have you playing at Red Bull Salzburg or with America?
I think okay. There is. Well, you're actually kind of speaking to my point, which is that there's an allure, right? There's a like if you grow up playing baseball as a kid anywhere in the country in the United States, anywhere, doesn't matter, and maybe you are even a fan of a local team. I'm a Dodgers fan, or I'm a Rangers fan. People are Rangers fans, whatever you are. If the New York Yankees come and say, we want you to play for us, even if you don't really care, you're going to go play for the Yankees. And if you do grow up a Yankees fan and the local team recruits you, right? I'm a Yankees fan who grew up in Southern California. The Dodgers want me to play in their system, but also the Yankees are calling me. Am I going to be a Dodger or am I going to be a Yankee? I'm going to go try to be a Yankee. I'm going to go try to play at a soccer stadium where they put baseball sometimes. That's what I'm going to do. I think it's like that. Like Mexico, and maybe we don't think of them that way because they're not world champions ever, right? They do have a gold medal in the Olympics, but Mexico looms so large culturally. Mm-hmm. It's like Notre Dame for Catholic people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it is such a big thing that it's really hard to overcome it. And again, this is why I think it's remarkable that Pepi, especially being a kid from El Paso, Texas, like it's not like Pepi grew up in the middle of Kansas or in Chicago or something, thousands of miles away from Mexico. He grew up right across the border. He was like, yeah, no, I'm going to play for the United States.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Araujo is normal. And so is Efrain Alvarez. Those are normal decisions by kids like that. And I'm sad about it, but I'm also not going to get angry about it, right?
Understood. And we'll see. We'll see what the Pepi situation does for the platform of that argument. I'm excited to see. I'm glad we have one, even if it is a unicorn. Because he wants to play here. His heart is with the U.S. And if Julian Araujo's heart is not with the U.S., then good on him. I hope he has a good career, just not in any game against the U.S.
Well, look, if the United States qualifies first, goes to the World Cup in Qatar, and reaches the quarterfinals, and Mexico doesn't, something, I have no idea that can happen. I'm not even sure where we're going to be when we get to next summer, much less next winter, next fall.
I can't fault Julian Araujo. We didn't even make the last World Cup.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? If we do better than Mexico, it's going to flip the script a little bit for some of these guys.
There's a bit of this that's results-based analysis. Part of it is what they feel in their heart, but there's also a part like, hey, I want to play on the biggest stage. Which team's going to be the opportunity for the biggest stage?
Yeah. All right, we are basically out of time. Nicholas Soup and Salad is hanging by, and I think he told us, Jared, that there are
the Sausage King of Chicago.
16 new iTunes reviews. Is that what I saw?
The Besties showed up. We got 16.
Did they get the buzzwords in?
So excited.
They got the buzzwords in. We got 16 Apple Podcast reviews, and we got one also emailed to us. That's 17 reviews. Thank you so much.
Do we need a separate podcast just for you to read these reviews?
We might have to. I've got a few of them that I'm gonna read tonight.
Why don't you hit us with 2, and we'll hit all 14 in the bonus show, though.
Ooh, yeah. We could do that.
All right, I'm gonna give you 3.
Okay. Well, one of them talks about Nick. One of them talks about Nick. That's why you had to make 3.
As much as we love our besties who sign up for the Patreon and support us a little bit, the people who give reviews, they don't have. They should be recognized too, Jared. We're gonna have to find a way to squeeze these in. Because they don't have to.
He can read the names of all of them real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you want me to read the names? That's fine.
I want you to read some reviews. Just read some reviews.
All right. Well, we asked for, just because last week we weren't sure if the reviews were even working, we asked for some people to just write one word. The very first one came from Beach Courtsman, and the review is poop. That's it. It just says poop.
Poop. Okay.
So, I hope that's not a statement on the quality of the show.
No, I don't believe it.
Or shit.
This next one is from, I love this username. It's Matatat. It says, only the best, the #1 American-centric podcast operating outside the cartel of U.S. soccer and MLS. Their shenanigans would make an octopus blush.
We're not part of the shenanigans. We have shenanigans. Okay,
and octopus.
Great. We're not. Did I say cartel? Did I say that? Was that one of the buzzwords?
Oh, yeah, that was there too. So we got all 3 in there.
Yes,
all right, perfect.
This next one is from CL Crocker. It says, Apple Podcast is not broken. No shenanigans here. Been listening to Jason and Jared since the soccer morning days. Only took me a little under a decade to rate and review. To be fair, this is my first and only podcast review. You are welcome. Solidly in the top 8 U.S. men's national team podcasts available. Nick, congrats on all the wooden spoons.
Yeah, Nick's adding to that collection this year, probably. Again.
And last but not least, I want to read this one that was emailed to us. This is from Oliver, and I'm reading this because I know Oliver's been in the chat tonight. The best soccer show is a welcoming oasis of easygoing sanity and comedic relief amongst the brutal jungle that can be the American soccer culture sphere. Jason and Jared are an incomparable duo of real analysis and fun. And with Nick at the controls, the ship is always on the right course, avoiding all krakens and other octopus-type sea monsters. The whole team exudes experience and passion for what they do, and the listener always benefits. The only shenanigans going on here are Jared's sometimes vulgar yet refined jokes. But that only lends to this show's mantra of not taking things too seriously and having fun along the way.
I want to be sure that we're not throwing the Paul Areola thing under the vulgar but refined category. It was
refined in that the allegory was like dead on. Like actually, see the metaphor.
Cue the soundboard drops.
Oh my!
From all sorts of domestic leagues coverage and grassroots American soccer news to covering Yanks abroad and their clubs, to an unwavering following of our national teams as a whole, the best soccer show has it all for the American soccer fan. Can't recommend listening in enough, and if you're up to join a stellar community of besties, you won't need the financial backing of a cartel to do so. And with newly appointed community manager Morgan, it's only up from here. Much love and following seas from this bestie, Oliver.
Shout out to
P.S.
Morgan.
For Jared, bit of a throwback request here. I already have a team in Major League Soccer, Chicago.
Oh,
But for your consideration,
Chicago.
my favorite beverage is High Life. My favorite food is jerk chicken. Favorite album is Rubber Factory by the Black Keys. And favorite movie is Men in Black. What MLS team should I be following?
Wow.
Man.
That sounds like a
Man.
Philadelphia guy to me. I don't know why that sounds like
To
Philly
me, I for some reason I'm going Columbus Crew a little bit.
the Black
the
Keys
Jamaican
thing?
jerk chicken kind of feel like the colors of Jamaica along with the Columbus Crew. The Middle High Life screams of Middle America.
It could be Nashville. You might be missing Nashville here. Could be Nashville.
Nah, jerk chicken's way too spicy for Nashville.
I feel like the musical vibes of that are Nashville.
What was the music one again?
They do
Black Keys.
Nashville hot chicken, I know,
style
yeah.
hot chicken in Nashville. What the hell?
Okay, what was the music again, Nick?
The Black Keys. Rubber Factory
Man.
by the Black Keys.
I'm still going with Columbus Crew for some reason. It feels right to me. So I'm sorry. I know you want me to say Chicago.
No, you're
which,
the
Oliver, but
sommelier. I'm just here chiming in. I'm just the
I am. I gotta go listen to that album from the Black Keys. I don't know off the top of my head. I may have heard it before, but it's not something that's in my
But
rotation.
you know the Black Keys. You know the
I
vibes
do.
of the Black Keys. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout
All
out
right,
to Oliver in the chat room tonight. Oliver,
there he
thank
is.
you so much.
There's Oliver. So we don't have
So,
time
yeah,
for all 16.
Well, no, we won't read all these. We'll read these over the weeks. But again, if you want to leave us a review, hit us up on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review. And if you're not on Apple Podcasts and you want to review our show, you can email us bestsoccershow@gmail.com and we'll read them on the air. Thanks so much
Guess
for all the
who
reviews, besties. We appreciate it.
Guess who just scored a goal? Major League Soccer, when people don't care about Major League Soccer things. But guess who just scored a goal? Somebody we talked about a lot tonight and his place in the U.S.
Pariola.
national team roster. No, not that one.
Julian Araujo?
No, not that one. Either. That was a 1-1 draw. Traffico came out kind of a
Joe Scally?
Now, Joe Scally just scored a goal. Now, yes. Time zones work like that. One more guess before I give it to you.
Christian Roldan.
Christian Roldan just scored a goal in the
But what does he
second
do?
minute. Well, he probably needs to talk to Paul Ariola to get his game up, I guess. That's what Jared is all
That's what you
about.
call full circle.
All right, there it is. Yeah, callbacks on this show. All right, Jared mentioned the Patreon. If you want to jump in on that, the Besties are the best American soccer community. I mean, I know we're biased on that. Seriously,
When Twitter's too salty for a roster release, come over there and hang out with people that want to talk about it with some pride.
it's soccer, but there's so much other stuff happening. It's
I
hard
just
to keep
I
track.
would just put out an old school emo playlist
Yes,
in one of the
you did.
Slacks. So I mean,
Yes. We have a Ted Lasso channel with spoilers. I have been avoiding the hell out of that channel the last 3 days because you jackasses
you
are
don't
sharing
care
things.
enough.
I haven't had time, man. I just turned 42. I have.
What'd you
things
do all
I need
morning?
to do. What morning? Which morning?
Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning.
I have an 8-month-old and a 13-year-old and in-laws in my house, and the yard has to be mowed. What do you want me to do?
You're
What do you
saying
want me to
Puerto
do?
Ricans don't enjoy Ted Lasso? You could have watched it with them.
They can't. My in-laws don't speak any English at all. Whatever. The only guy that they won't understand is Danny Rojas. Danny Rojas. That's it. All right. We are going to get out of here. Patreon.com/TheBestSoccerShow. Ratings and reviews, as you already know. YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. And the plan, since this is the last show before the qualifiers start, the plan right now, and we will work on the logistics. I will be in Austin, Texas for USA Jamaica. There is a tentative but very strongly possible plan of a post-game show from Austin, Texas, involving myself, Mr. DuBois, and perhaps a special guest. Maybe a former U.S. international could be involved in that show. We're going to work
Landon
it
Donovan?
out. I think he's busy fixing the shine on the forehead of his statue back at the
Some
Galaxy Stadium. Yeah. But we're going to plan for that. You know, we love doing the post-game shows. We're absolutely going to be on the air Sunday night and a week from Wednesday when they play Costa Rica. So look out for those games and the post-game shows. Call us up and tell us what you thought. We will talk to you guys then. Bye.
Danger Zone! Damn,
dog. That's in a approach.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Playing hot dogs and donuts with two fangirls in the locker room?
We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1?
Avenge me. Who asked those questions? Oh, baby! Yeah?
I wouldn't be caught dead in a sweater vest.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Duh and or hello.
Oh, it's incredible!
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
Jay Rodius.